Hey, everybody. Ryan Molly here. So excited about today's guest. This guy is an unbelievable local legend in the Meadville / Crawford County / Northwest Pennsylvania area. Justin Johnson. I think this is going to be probably one of the top hitters in terms of the Hey Sawbones podcast. People have known him from his high school athletics. He has been an amazing ambassador for high school athletics on the coaching side as well. So really excited to bring him on today, and you're not going to want to miss this. Remember, we've got the Sawbones Challenge at the end, so please stay tuned through the entire thing. Just a lot of good memories, going back and forth, bringing up some funny old stories from the past. So stay tuned. We'll be right with you.
All nurses to the nurses station.
Lawless country people are real close family. Lately, some of my kinfolk don't get around too good, you see. When that doctor asked them, son, how'd you get in this condition? They says, hey, Sawbones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. Wanna know, Doc, why do you think I got some pain in my joints from years of playing hard in this life that's too short? When that doctor asked me, son, how'd you get in this condition? I says, hey, Sawbones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me all about it, Doc.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Hey Sawbones, My Story, My Passion. I'm Dr. Ryan Molly, your host, orthopedic surgeon, cutter of bones, business owner, entrepreneur. And this is really the nitty gritty of who I am, kind of what makes me tick, both personally and professionally. And today's episode, I am so excited about our guest. I grew up with this guy. He's a local legend in the Crawford County, kind of Northwest Pennsylvania area. If you haven't heard of him, you'll probably recognize him when you see him. And his story is great. Our story, just kind of growing up together, is very interesting. This is going to be a lot of fun. You're definitely going to want to stick around for this entire episode. Remember, we have the Sawbones Challenge at the end. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Justin Johnson.
Hey,
how are you, buddy?
thanks. Nice to be here.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about yourself. I mean, I know a lot of it, like where you grew up, but our listeners don't.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Sagertown, Pennsylvania, which is the neighboring school to where you went to school at Maplewood. And I have grew up in a great household. My parents have been together for a long time. Gosh, probably going on 60 years. And I have an older brother and sister. And I just sort of, I've always been a Crawford County guy. I've lived there my whole life. I moved away briefly for 2 years of college at Indiana, PA, and I came back to go to Edinburgh, and I never left. So since then, I've been doing a lot of different things, but mainly I've been a boys volleyball coach at Sagertown and girls volleyball coach.
Yeah, when you sent me kind of your information, 23 years.
Yeah, 23 years in coaching. I coached the junior high boys basketball team at Sagertown first. Then I was the JV boys volleyball coach, and then since then, I've kind of done most of those things again at one point to kind of fill in for people. But the last 8 years, I was the girls and boys volleyball coach, and then 21 years as the varsity boys volleyball coach at Sagertown.
Yeah, that's a lot of years. We're the same age, but you don't seem old enough to me to have over 20 years of high school coaching experience.
Yeah. Well, when I came back from going to school at Indiana, that was one of the things that I did. I just jumped right into the coaching thing. I was commuting at Edinburgh, so it was easy to make it to practice and do those kind of things. And, I've been a gym rat. You know this. We were gym rats when we were kids.
You never lost that?
Nope, never lost it. I still am. Still love it. Still love going in there every day, and it's great. It's a lot of fun still.
So kind of going back, because I mean, we kind of grew up together. I mean, different schools. Your brother and my oldest sister dated at one point. I don't specifically remember like the first time that I met you, but I just have very, very fond like childhood memories of, you know, family trips where it was a annual tradition where the Johnsons, the Hagers, the Richards, and the Mollies would go to Hershey, Pennsylvania to watch the PIAA high school state basketball championships.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was, I mean, at that time, I mean, if you go back to, I think the first time I was there was when the Meadville Bulldogs were in the state championship game. That was 1987. So, you know, we were 10 years old.
Was that the Burnett?
Yeah.
Were they both playing at that time?
Yeah. Yep.
Burnett brothers, Michael and Donald?
Yep. Michael and Donald. Yep. Michael he graduated that year. And then I think Donald was a year older than my brother. So he would have graduated like in 89. So, yeah. So that's
Norm
my
Price,
first,
right?
Yep.
We were
Coach
just
Price.
talking about him.
Yep. Coach Price, legendary Coach Price, one of my good friends, great guy, a lot of fun to do things with, you know, and that's kind of how we met each other. Probably first is through basketball. Not only that trip, but I mean, we probably met each other first at a basketball camp somewhere, to be honest with you. I mean, we were going to basketball camp since we were very little, and there was a lot of them around here at the time. And we spent most of our summers growing up, you know, going to 3 or 4 basketball camps every summer.
I was Ryan Ray, one of my good buddies. He actually did the opening song and the closing song for this podcast. An extremely talented musician, but he was a heck of an athlete back in the day. And we were watching the last game of the NBA Finals, and we were just talking about basketball camps. You know, our favorite camps growing up. I mean, there was the Maplewood camp, which Bill Hager ran. There was a Cochrane camp, which I always went to. There was an Allegheny camp, which I always went to. The Edinburgh overnight one was my favorite.
Yeah, the Edinburgh overnight camp was the most fun. I don't know, you know, staying up late, staying up all night, having to get up early in the morning and play basketball. You know, you're hanging out with your buddies, meet so many cool guys. You know, we met so many, you know, I always tell people this, everything that's ever happened to me that has been good in my life has happened to me because of sports. The relationships that I've made, the bonds that I've made with, you know, the players that I played with when I was growing up to the players that I have now and their parents and everything that happens. I've always told people everything that's ever happened good to me in my life has been through sports.
Yeah. No, I would say a lot of my memories and most positive experiences too were kind of the same thing. I'm just thinking about the people that we ran into at those camps. Remember Luke Laird?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's now like one of the most famous country music writers.
Yeah. Yep.
He lives in Nashville and amazing talent.
Yep.
Do you remember like he would bring his guitar to basketball camp and we'd go to his room and we'd hang out late and he'd be playing, and the coaches, which were not that much older than us, you know, they were like just in high school or just out of high school. They'd come, hey, be quiet down, or they'd make us go do plyometrics at, you know, 11 o'clock at night on the tennis courts because we were misbehaving. But
Scott Pilatus and my good friend Tim Houck made us do a lot of push-ups during those camps.
Yeah, I remember Casey Kerberger, Brian Shoup, but Scott Pilatus, Donnie Plyler.
Yep.
He used to go there too.
Yeah.
So I mean, you a little thirsty?
Yeah, I'm a little thirsty.
Yeah. So one of the things I always do is, you know, I try to do a little bit of research to find out what my favorite, what my guests' favorite drinks are. So you texted me, you said, "Hey, I'm a Miller Lite guy." So I mean, two things. I mean, we're gonna drink some Miller Lite together.
Okay.
And you kind of surprised me when you were walking up the driveway and he had the Larry Bird shirt on, because again, when we were growing up, it was Nathan Hager, Justin Johnson, Ryan Molly. It was Magic Johnson for Nathan. It was Larry Bird for you, and it was always Michael Jordan for myself. So another little surprise
most resembled him. You know, kind of slow and couldn't jump, but you know, I don't know if you resembled Michael that much.
Yeah, because I was slow, couldn't jump and do any of those things either. But maybe the darker hair, that would be really pretty much the only thing.
Yeah, but that was a lot of fun. I mean, like I said, you know, we didn't spend, if you came over to my house or we went over to the Hagers or I went over to your house, we didn't spend any time inside. We were outside, you know, all the time.
Yeah, we were. And I do remember if we were inside at your house, you had that like indoor court in your living room, like a little Nerf court in there. I think you had tape on the floor too, right?
Yep, tape on the floor. It was looked just like an arena in there. You know, you'd play the warm up music coming out. It was great.
I think we need to just make this a little bit more official while we're doing this podcast. I mean, you've got that on, but like let's suit up.
Let's suit up here.
bringing it back. Memories.
Jesus, this is going to fit me. That's perfect. Perfect. Looks good.
Yeah. There we go. So now we're ready to get to work here. We made it official. So we'll start with you. Well, I guess let's cheers here first.
Yep.
So first and foremost, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this all week since you, about a week ago, you got a hold of me and asked me if I wanted to do this. And I've really been looking forward to it and spending some time with you. And, hopefully get to play around the golf after this and, hang out a little more. So
it was supposed to rain, but it looks like the weather is going to be on our side here. So
cheers,
salud.
buddy.
Yeah. So Jared and I's drink was Bush Heavy.
Oh, okay. That's a Crawford County staple.
Yeah, we had some interesting stories and memories with that. Do you have any interesting stories with the Miller Lite?
Oh man, geez, probably
Too many.
Probably too many to count or bring up. I don't know if my mom's gonna be watching this or not, but
Hey, Alice, how you doing?
I've always been a Miller Lite guy, so it's kind of been like one of those things. The Bob Uecker commercials from back in the day.
Oh
It
yeah,
tastes great, less filling. I've always loved those, and of course, Major League is probably one of my favorite movies of all time. So I think I decided when I was drinking age, which is probably
16?
younger than the legal drinking age, I decided I was a Miller Lite guy. So
Yeah.
I don't vary too often, but
yeah. So you're a loyal guy with that.
I am. I enjoy it. It always has tasted well to me. I'm not much of a craft beer drinker. Not much of a wine drinker. I'm just a normal beer drinking guy most of the time.
You're Crawford County through and through.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So let's get started. So again, rules of engagement. You're going to ask me 3 questions, business questions first, then personal questions. You can ask me anything, and the rules go both ways here. You can veto one question if I really ask you one you don't want to answer. I will tell you to date you're the 4th guest. No one's vetoed anything yet, so don't be the first guy.
Yeah, I won't be the first guy. I'll answer the question.
Okay, let's go. So fire away.
Fire away. The very first thing I wanted to ask you, business-wise, is, when you replaced my first knee here, my right knee, I was only 37 years old. And I had gone to many orthopedic places and orthopedic surgeons and all those kind of things, and I was getting the same answer from them over and over again. You're too young. We can't replace that knee. You're too young. And, of course, when I came to see you, you decided that it was time for me to have that knee replaced. And I never heard out of your mouth, you're too young. What's your thought process for like younger patients and when it's the right time for them to have a joint replacement?
Yeah, so that's a very common question that I get asked. It's usually by people that are even older that think they're really young, like in their mid to late 50s, which is still relatively young for a joint replacement. Yeah. I mean, my average age is probably closer to 65. So yeah, at 37, you were definitely very young on the very low end of that bell curve. The youngest joint replacement I've ever done was a 26-year-old female. It was a hip. She had a dysplastic hip from a congenital condition. And the oldest patient that I've ever replaced a joint on was 103 years old, and it was a knee replacement. So if you fall between those two numbers, we can probably do it. The old adage was like, you wait until you just can't take it anymore until you're older. What's older, right? And the other thing too is like, age is just a number. And the way I look at this is it is a quality of life decision, right? Because when you came to see me, you were at a point where like your quality of life was deteriorating. Your functional abilities to be active and do things that you like to do, whether it was golf, coach, whatever it was, you were struggling. So I always tell my patients, I'll never tell you when you need a joint replacement. You'll tell me when you're ready. But that one thing that we need to keep in mind is, yes, you were 37 and you're still young. You're 44 now, right? And you've had, by the way, side note, he's had a total knee replacement on the right knee and bilateral, so 2-sided hip replacements just within the past 6 months or so.
Yeah.
So yeah, you are young, and you just need to understand that that's probably not the last time that someone, whether it's myself or another surgeon, is going to be in your knee or your hip. Now, again, go back to that quality of life thing. We want to be able to get you. I'm never going to save your life by doing a hip or knee replacement, right? There's nothing sexy, elaborate about what I do. But it's a quality of life operation. It's an elective operation. But you want to be able to like understand that regular checkups, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, to make sure that your knee, your hips, everything is still in good position. Nothing's wearing out, coming loose. And the fact that If the metal parts stay stable, which I think that they will, maybe in 20 years we're looking at a plastic change. So it's kind of like when your car tires go bald, you don't go get a brand new car because of that. You just replace the tires.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think looking back on it, some doctors were like, well, you're going to have this done again at some point, and I thought to myself, well, first of all, what's the technology going to be like in 20 years when I have to have it done again?
Yeah.
Is it going to be way better? Is it going to be a way easier procedure? Obviously, within the last 20 years, these procedures have gotten way easier to begin with because my mother has had both her knees replaced and both her hips replaced, and that recovery, 25 years ago, 30 years ago was a lot different than what mine was.
Yeah, I mean, they were staying, 7 days in the hospital, 5 to 7 days in a hospital 25 years ago. Now, all of your joint replacements, you went home the same day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And I mean, that's 95% of the hip or knee replacements I do today go home the same day. You're not sick. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody goes home the same day. There's people that are older, maybe they don't have help at home. Maybe they're medically a little bit more compromised, and a one-night stay in the hospital is maybe more appropriate for them. But all in all, I mean, technologies have come a long ways. Again, my hopes and beliefs are that if you do a well-done operation, you put the parts in correctly in terms of the position and the orientation and the sizing, it should last a long time, just like if you're putting cars on a car tire or on a car, right? You want to make sure that they're properly aligned, they're properly balanced. And if so, they should last a while. And then when the day comes, you just need maybe a new plastic liner.
Yeah.
What else?
So like another professional question here real quick. Obviously I'm a Crawford County guy. We've talked about that. And you decided to keep your office in Meadville, PA. And of course you built a beautiful building in downtown Meadville. That has really done a lot to spruce up downtown Meadville, which needs some sprucing up a little bit, So what made you want to stay in the Meadville area? You live in Erie. You do most of your surgical work in Hermitage. What made you wanted to keep that office in Meadville?
Yeah. So, driving has never been, or driving a distance or a commute to work has never been an obstacle for me. When I was in practice in Metro Detroit, which I was for about 5 years before moving back home, I drove close to an hour one way every day. My office was at the hospital where I did all of my surgery. So it wasn't a bunch of different places, but that was a more frustrating commute for me because it was, a 4-lane highway, right? So you'd get rush hour, you'd be paused. It was like a parking lot. The distance wasn't that far, whereas now it's an easy drive. It's an easy commute. I actually like it because it allows me to do podcasts in the morning. It allows me to do audiobooks. It allows me to just kind of have my time, which I don't get much of with 3 young, busy boys. But to answer your question, why did I decide to be in Meadville? So when I moved back here in 2015, it was an amazing opportunity to move back to kind of my hometown community where my dad taught for 32 years. And the ability to operate on like my people, right? The people that helped shape me and help teach me. I can't tell you how many teachers I've done joint replacements on, family, friends, colleagues, people that are my age. And to me, it was like, this is my town. This is my area. And although I live in Erie, that was more of a decision for my wife because she's a city girl, right? And she wouldn't really, I won't say she wouldn't fit in Crawford County, but she needs like stuff and activity. And so that was kind of the compromise when we moved away from her family in Michigan back. It was like, can we at least live in Erie so that, I can have access to this or that, which she still thinks Erie is way too small, but it's a nice hybrid, I guess. Yeah. And, I'm a hometown guy. I love supporting local. So you mentioned the office, but literally every contractor, subcontractor was a local person. All this work in this wine room was the same crew that built my office. Yeah. And the same, stones. These are from a Pennsylvania quarry. These aren't like cultured stones. These are actual stones that Amishmen quarried in Pennsylvania. And all the barnwood you see is barnwood that is from Lyona Road, a half a mile from my parents' place. So I'm a local guy, and I love being able to kind of give back to that community.
Yeah.
So personal questions?
personal questions? Yeah. So how involved you got three boys, right?
Yeah.
How involved are they in athletics?
Whew, tremendously. So they each play travel baseball. They play for the Erie Steelheads organization, which last year they were on 3 different organizations. There's a lot of travel teams in Erie, but in order to make it a little bit easier for Karen and I to get kids to and from practice, tournaments, things like that, we decided to go with one organization. And they have a great organization that's run by either current or former college baseball players. So it's nothing against dads that are coaching, but like it's not daddy ball, right? It's you got kids that are guys that play Division II, some Division I, Division III baseball. So they all do that, which right now we're in the thick of baseball season. Santino, our middle son, is really big into basketball. He's actually at the McDowell basketball camp this week.
Nice.
He's doing, I think, the Mercier's basketball camp next week. Lucas says he wants to play basketball next year and wants me to coach that. And then they all play kind of like flag football. And then Anthony just picked up golf. Santino's starting golf this summer. So they're always doing something. And quite honestly, when Karen and I had kids, I was very worried about like the technology piece and like raising kids that all they wanted to do was be on their phone or be on their iPad. But our boys are constantly outside. And if you come by, like literally before you came here, one of the neighbor boys came over and rang the doorbell. I thought it was you.
Yeah.
I went out and he was about 3 foot tall. I said, "That's not Justin." And he was asking if the boys could play. And I said, "They'll be back in a little bit." So
That's interesting you say that because, you know, of course, technology is a big part of every young person's life, you know, but so I've been coaching for so long. I kind of have been there, you know, before the social media aspect and before the mobile phone, really, you know, where every kid had a mobile phone and all the way up through all of it. And, you know, I can't really say that it's really changed, you know, my kids' work ethic really too much. You know, they seem to be, you know, they want me to open up the gym. They want me to make them better. They want me to open up the weight room, those kind of things. So it's interesting you say that because I feel like young people get a kind of a bad rap nowadays. You know, older people like ourselves now that we're getting older kind of have, you know, syndrome that, well, it's not as good as when we were around.
exactly,
and all that
yeah,
kind of stuff.
I'm guilty of that too.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that too. And maybe some aspects of life aren't as good as when we were around. I think it was a little simpler, you know, when we were growing up and playing sports and things like that. There wasn't as much, you know, like we said, social media, you know, for them to worry about. But, you know, I've had some fantastic young people over the last 7 or 8 years when really that's really come full circle, the social media stuff. Just really great, hardworking, respectful, great students. Been very fortunate.
Yeah, and I think the area too, like Northwest Pennsylvania, especially down in Crawford County, like you can, it's like you can take the boy out of the country, but can never take the country out of the boy.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and I don't just mean boys, girls too, but like I feel like there's still that mentality of down, and like that was one of my fears too with our boys is like, not that we live in this huge city, but like, how am I going to instill in them kind of like the work ethic that my father instilled in me? Because I mean, you know, I grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
So I was doing hay in the summer, was doing chores in the winter. Although my sisters would say I didn't, but I did. And, you know, but it was like simple life, but like taught you how to do hard work. There was a funny story that Jared and I talked about on a previous episode of when we had to go get feed and he got his beer muscles and we got our beer muscles from drinking Bush. So, but yeah, I think it is important. So I try to send the boys off down to, you know, we call it Camp Cherry Lane, which is where my sister Shannon and her husband Chris live, and give them a little bit of that country life too.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. What else?
Well, I guess I'm sort of interested because we kind of lost a little bit of we lost a little contact there, you know, between you know, high school and then we kind of both went off to college and started doing our own thing, and then we didn't link up again until you know, until our late 30s probably again, where we started hanging out and talking to each other again. So I don't know much about your wife really. So tell me how you met and all that stuff.
Yeah. So if you would have asked me this 15 years ago, I would have been probably pretty shy to kind of talk about it. I actually think I talked about this on a previous episode of this podcast, but we actually met online. So Match.com. So when I moved to Michigan, I was in my internship getting ready to start my residency. So it was super busy and I didn't have time. I wasn't looking to go date 20 different women And I was at that point where I wanted to settle down, right? And I didn't want to go out like, where am I going to find this person? I'm not going to, what I say, poop in my own lunchbox, so to speak. So I never really dated anybody from like the hospital or work or anything like that. I tried to kind of set that boundary. And I wasn't going to go out to bars to meet somebody. I just didn't feel like that was in my best interest, or, I didn't have time to do that. So where was I going to do this? And reluctantly, I signed up for Match.com, and I literally only went on 2 dates. And they were both Greek girls, because that's just what I'm attracted to. And you'll get a chance to meet her here once we're done with this podcast. But so my wife's awesome. She's Greek. She's beautiful. She has dark hair, dark complexion, dark eyes. But she is the most patient individual that I've ever met, which is exactly like what I need. Because I feel like there's certain people that, like say Jared Oaks, he could be compatible, and someone could be compatible with him probably 80% of the time. He's a great guy, great personality, pretty easygoing. Whereas like I'm on the other end of that bell curve, where like it'd be very, very challenging to have to find that person that works not for me, but also me for them, because I am so committed to what I do, my day job. That doesn't mean that like I don't, because we get away. Like we were in Hawaii a couple weeks ago. We were just away, as I mentioned earlier, at the Grand Resort down in Warren, Ohio. When I'm working, I'm working. When I'm with my family, I'm with my family. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that like it's sometimes hard for me to shut it off. And so her best quality is, again, the ability to be super patient and to really kind of see things from somebody else's perspective. So she kind of talks me, I won't say off the ledge, but like she puts perspective in my life, where sometimes I can get so ultra focused on, hey, this is what's going on, and I get overwhelmed by it. And she kind of just brings me back down to reality.
That's good.
Yeah. The yin for my yang, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So ready to role reverse this? Me ask you some questions?
Yeah, that's fine.
So work questions. When you emailed me, it was kind of funny. You said, I've had a lot of jobs, right? Yeah. I guess just briefly kind of walk me through that. And you mentioned one, and I'll let you kind of tell this, but you said this is probably my all-time favorite job.
Yeah.
So,
well, I started out, while I was commuting to Edinburgh, I started out working at Bethesda Children's Home. That's where I started my career journey, I guess. And I was like a child care counselor there. Then I moved on to working at like Edinburgh University and Penn State Barron. Not for the university. I actually worked for a gentleman that has a place down the road from you. And I was kind of like his head of maintenance. I was doing some I've always had like 2 jobs on top of my coaching thing. It's just kind of like the way that I am. I always like to be really busy, because if I'm not, then I tend to get in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
So, anyways, I started working at the college, like as a head of maintenance or whatever. And then I moved on to the Crawford County Care Center, where I became kind of like the head of maintenance, laundry, and housekeeping there. And I did that for about 5 or 6 years. And about 5 years ago, I made a switch professionally that I never thought that I would ever do. I became a salesman at Fame RV. And that's been a lot of fun. Great family owns that business, and we've had a lot of fun working there the last 5 years and all that stuff. But you go back to what my number one favorite job is I've had some bartending jobs in the past, and it's by far.
Were they like paid or like celebrity bartending? Because
no,
I could see you being like a celebrity bartender.
No, I was paid. I worked for my good friends at Willie G's at Bill and Linda Geiger owned that for a while. I worked for them. That was probably my most recent gig. And before that, I worked at the bar in Sagertown a little bit and a couple of places in Meadville. But it was never like a full-time thing. It was always like 1 day a week or sometimes 2 days a week. And I just loved it, because I just loved talking to the people and having a good time. And to me, that's your local watering hole, sitting around BSing with everybody is.
So this is very natural for you.
Yeah, this is very natural for me. It's really just a lot of fun. And all those joint problems I've had, I was really bummed out that I had to stop that, because I just couldn't be on my feet for 8 or 9 hours, for a bartending shift anymore. Yeah. But I'm hoping to get back to it here soon, so I think I'll be able to. Feeling pretty good. So
you mentioned that when you made the switch and went to Fame, and I love giving local shout outs. Who owns Fame? You mentioned it's
the Bidwell family does. So right now it's Derek Bidwell. And then be his cousin Brenda Bailey, who was Brenda Bidwell formerly.
Okay.
Brenda and I went to high school together. We've been friends. Our families have been friends for a long time. And she was kind of the one that, pushed me into working for them. And then Derek, I actually coached in volleyball and junior high basketball when he was growing up. So they're great people to work for. Just a lot of fun.
So you mentioned though that you said it didn't seem like something I would ever do, like sales, like knowing you and your personality, the way you carry yourself. You mentioned the bartending piece and just the water and hole, the conversations. Like you seem like a very natural salesman.
I would say that maybe I should rephrase that. I would never thought I would be like selling cars or RVs or something like that. I see myself selling, going to a hospital and selling medical supplies or something like that. I could see myself doing something like that, but to actually I never really liked to be like pushed by car salesmen and things like that. And when I went to work there, I told them, I was like, listen, I am not going to be like pushy. I'm not going to give people a line of BS. I'm like, it's just not who I am. I was like, I can talk to people till they fall over, but I was like, I have to be honest and not pushy and all that kind of things. And they're like, oh no, we're really low pressure here. And that's actually worked out very well for us as a business and me as a salesperson.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of sense that because I know your parents, Joe and Alice, and I know your brother and your sister and just the family that kind of groomed you, raised you. It's about culture. It's about being genuine. It's about being honest. It's about having integrity. And so I respect that about you. Yeah. And the fact that like, I don't think I'd be a very good like car salesman either. I guess to a certain extent, we all are salesmen to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But like, I never try to push somebody into something, whether it's a surgery or this or that. Like they'll know when it's time, but like the same thing, like that's super respectful that you can do that.
Well, one of the things is if you work with kids long enough, which I have, especially young people, especially that 7th, 8th, 9th, that junior high age, they can see right through your BS.
You can't hide it.
No, and then they're very honest with you back. A lot of times, if you're trying to, pull something over on them, they're like, well, that's, you did this a month ago. You told me this a month ago, and now you're telling me this.
Yeah.
They don't forget things. Whereas, adults sometimes you can kind of forget what you told them a month ago or whatever. So, but working with kids, you got to be on top of your game all the time.
Yeah. So I guess my last kind of business question is, if none of the jobs that you've done, what would be your dream job outside of anything you've ever done?
Oh boy, none of the jobs that I've ever done. That's a tough one. Let me think about that for a second. I mean, I guess it sort of goes along with the bartending thing, but I would love to own a bar myself someday. I don't know if that'll ever happen because there's a lot of BS that goes along with it. So it's necessarily not bartending, I guess, but I would love to own like a little place where people go and watch sports and hang out and, have a good time.
What would you call it?
Well,
because I guarantee you've thought about this.
Oh yeah. Everybody calls me J-Bone. So it'd be called J-Bone. So
kind of like Sawbones, but J-Bones.
Yeah. Yep. Everybody calls me J-Bone. So that's kind of my little nickname in Sagertown. So,
I've worked on J-Bones 3 times.
Yeah, that's right.
So I guess the personal questions, right? So growing up, I mean, who was your biggest, it could be a local person, it could be a celebrity, but who was your kind of mentor / idol growing up?
Oh, geez. Definitely probably my brother, Joe. And my father, but definitely my brother, Joe, for sure. He was just like the perfect age older than me. He was 10 years older than me. So, we shared a room growing up for a lot of those years while he was home before he went to college. And of course, he was a great basketball player, great athlete, great baseball player. And, he's just always been my go-to guy for everything. Especially when I was younger, I just thought that he walked on water. He could do no wrong. And, a lot of times he didn't do very many things wrong, but, he was just the guy that I looked up to. I just thought he was just, so great. And I still do. He's a great guy. He's a principal now. He has been for a long time down in Moon in high school. He's got 2 great kids, great family, great wife. I still look up to him to this day, but I mean, definitely when I was growing up, I thought, I was going to watch him, playing for the Celtics someday or something.
I think I thought the same thing growing up because he was at our house quite a bit with dating Allison. I go through some old photo albums here and there, and there's some great photos of you, me, Nathan Hager, Jared Oakes in our basement, like New Year's Eve parties. And there's one that your brother's there, and he was the same age difference from you and I and him. And what about almost a decade older. And I looked up to him too. And I was like, man, this guy's tall. He's athletic. He's a great basketball player. And he was funny. My goodness, was he funny and just witty. And there's a photo though where we had him putting a bar of soap in his mouth. I don't remember the exact backstory.
Okay.
I remember Kristen McCaskey was in that photo too. But just some fun times with with your brother.
Oh yeah, he's a fun time. Still a great time.
Do you unwind with him ever?
Oh yeah. We have a camp over by Hunter's Inn.
Okay. I've heard of that place.
Yeah, and he comes up all the time. He spends a lot of time there. We go out there, sit by the fire, drink a couple beers. We do a lot of things together as far as chasing his kids around. I try to go to all my niece and nephew stuff if I can. Mars was a little younger, so it was hard to get to some of her volleyball matches and stuff like that because they're always after school. But she'll be in 10th grade next year, so she'll be getting some varsity playing time, hopefully, and I'll be able to go to some of those matches. But I've missed very few of Logan's basketball and football games over the last couple of years.
What grade is he in now?
He's going to be a senior.
Wow. I've seen some photos of him. And was it your brother that was... Your parents were at one of your hip replacements. I think it was your first. And I think your brother was there for your second.
Yeah.
And it was great. I hadn't seen him in probably 20-some years.
Yeah.
And to be able to come out, and I was kind of surprised when I saw him. And, but he was showing me some photos of your nephew.
Yeah.
And he's quite an athlete, it sounds like.
Yeah, he's a great athlete. He's a very good football player and a great basketball player. Hopefully he'll get the opportunity to play at the next level somewhere. Probably football, I'm guessing, if I had to pick one for him. But and he plays at a big school. He plays at North Hills. They're 5A and everything.
Wow.
So, he's started on the football and basketball team since he was a sophomore. So he's got the athletic Johnson genes. So that's definitely something I really, really enjoy is watching him play because I don't have any kids of my own. So.
Yeah, but that kind of leads me into my next question is your commitment to high school athletics, and you coach JOs too.
Yep.
So like, what's your favorite? This is like a 2-part question, but it's only going to count for one.
Okay.
Your favorite moment in coaching over the past 20-some years, and your least favorite moment in coaching.
Oh, geez. Well, I'll probably have to give you a few of my favorites.
That's fine.
Definitely, probably one of my favorite moments in coaching was in 2007. I had been coaching for about 4 years. Sagertown boys volleyball had never won District 10 championship. I had a group of guys that I had coached since they were in 7th grade in volleyball and in junior high basketball. And they ended up winning the District 10 championship for the first time. We beat Maplewood. And that was just
Was Sheila coaching then, or who was the coach?
Sheila was coaching at the time.
Okay.
Yes. And it was just a fantastic moment for us. Sagertown volleyball had been around for a while, never won District 10, and it was the first time, and it really was kind of gave us a springboard. Since then we've won it 6 times.
Wow.
Lost in the state championship game a couple times. So that was probably one of my favorite moments coaching. The other one would probably be in 2011. We were the 5th place team going into the District 10 tournament, and we ended up playing in the state championship game. We won District 10, got hot, and just went all the way to the state finals.
Did you ever foresee that at the beginning of that season?
No, I did not foresee that at the beginning of that season. We had a lot of ups and downs. That was one of my most favorite groups of people to coach, but it was also challenging personality-wise. Between myself, I'm not giving myself a free pass here, and some of the guys on the team, we kind of clashed a little bit, and it was just it's one of those things where you learn a lesson about life where you're like you have to sometimes give a little to get a little. Yeah. And I was still fairly young coach then, and I was hard-headed, and it was my way or the highway, and something happened during that season. I kind of backed off of that a little bit, and it really was the reason why we ended up being so successful. Then I probably have one more. Well, Justin Headley. She was the girls volleyball coach this past season, but before this past season, I was there for 8 years in the girls volleyball program. We really struggled the first few years. not good at all. And then, the second to last season that I was there, we won District 10 with the girls. And I think, that was a lot of hard work between myself and really the main guy behind it all was Tim Hauk. He was my head volleyball coach when I was in high school, my senior year. And then
Maplewood guy.
Yep. And then he's been my assistant volleyball coach for a long time, both the boys and the girls. And he put in a lot of time with those girls, and we finally got to the top of the mountain there. And unfortunately, the thing that happened there was the year of COVID. So there wasn't very many fans in the stands and all that kind of thing. So that kind of took away from it. So I would say that probably would be one of the worst things about coaching was the COVID year.
Yeah.
I did not enjoy any of that at all. Like I said, we had a great team in girls and boys volleyball that season. And it was just tough to negotiate all those kind of things that were going on at that time.
Well, especially like boys, because boys volleyball is a spring sport, and that season just got canceled.
Yep, the guys that are seniors this year, they did not have a freshman season, and of course there was a senior group that year that didn't get to play in their senior year.
That's rough.
Yeah, and that's my least favorite probably coaching moment was having to cancel that season, not only for the development of our program, but the seniors that I had that year. They had been in the volleyball program since they were in 4th or 5th grade also, and then all of a sudden, that's your crescendo. That's your senior year is where you have all your fun. It's where all your work, all the hard work that you've put in over the years starts to pay off, and that's your team and you're the leaders and all those kind of things. And have that season get canceled for them, that was a bummer.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that that's kind of behind us. I mean, there's still some lingering effects, obviously, but that was rough on I think kids in particular, because number one, they couldn't go to school.
Yeah.
They didn't have that social interaction. And then for the athletes to not be able to have that senior season. And, Nick Bancroft is a buddy of mine too. And they were just coming off a state championship, right? Yep. And then they weren't able to have that season either. But, at this point, I always kind of try to break things up a little bit.
Okay.
But before we go into the 7th inning Sawbone shoe stretch, one last kind of question, but memory that kind of popped up while we were talking. It's a Hershey memory.
Okay.
And maybe we talked about this recently. My memory is not great because there's so much busyness going on. But do you remember? I'm going to paint the scene. We were in the hotel, and going to the games was great.
Yeah.
We'd buy the tickets way up top, and we'd sneak down.
Oh yeah.
But like the hotel time, going to the swimming pool, getting pizza late at night. And we thought we were living on the top of the world.
Yeah.
Like our parents would be in one room having adult beverages. We'd be in the other room. But do you remember we were watching Glow Wrestling?
Okay.
And the Konjowskis were there too.
Yes.
And Matt Konjowski got so excited watching. Glow was Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. And most of them were pretty, but there was one that was not. Her name was Big Mama. Do you remember Big Mama?
I do remember this vaguely, yes.
And Matt got so worked up with Big Mama coming out, and he was just like, almost like he was on steroids at the time.
Yeah.
And he grabbed Nathan Hager and overhead body slammed him on the bed. Nathan bounced off the bed, bounced up, hit his head on the ceiling, and had like a huge goose egg on it. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember that. I mean, people get accused nowadays of being helicopter parents, a little bit. I don't think anybody would have accused any of our parents of being like that.
No.
I mean, pretty much when we were together and they were together, we were just running around doing crazy stuff. You know, they weren't ones to kind of intervene. Like if we got into an argument or something like that, you weren't running to them and getting any sympathy from them.
Yeah, no. It was like, get out of here, figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out. Yeah, I always thought I always respect that. But I do remember Matt. Matt's Cambridge Springs #1 sports fan and a huge Cleveland fan. So I run into him now and again, and he has a lot of memories.
I was going to say, tell him I said hello because I haven't seen him in years.
Yeah. I see him every once in a while. His younger brothers, who are much younger than us even, they're around still, and I see him all the time. And every once in a while I'll be out at a bar or something having dinner, and then we'll walk Matt and we'll talk about some Cleveland Cavs basketball and some Browns football. And
ask him about Glow and Big Mama. See if he remembers that.
I'll have to ask him next time I see him.
So the next part is what we call the Sawbones seventh inning shoe stretch. So everybody that knows me knows that I'm a pretty big shoe guy, particularly Jordans. You saw my Jordan collection earlier,
Yep.
but I always ask my guests to kind of wear either your favorite pair of shoes or something that you really like. Like what's your story behind this? What are you wearing here today?
I've gotten rid of so many shoes in the last 7 years because of everything I had going on. I'd wear a pair of shoes for like a month and I'd have to get rid of them. So I kind of fell in love with a couple brands. New Balances are probably my favorite, and then these are the most recent ones I got. These are Sauconys, but I kind of wore them out of default because I kind of give my shoes away after I get done with them because I wear them for so little time that they're still in probably pretty good shape for most people. So I got a couple friends that I give them to, or pass them on to somebody else. And
What size do you wear?
I wear 13s.
Okay, you got
So-
some big feet.
Yeah, so that's why I kind of wore these, because they're brand new. I just got them, so I kind of thought that kind of fit because any of the other kind of shoes that I would normally wear, like I used to be a big sneakerhead like yourself, but I just couldn't. I used to love Nikes, and they got to the point where they didn't last very long for me, and they would hurt my joints and all that.
We got to get you into some Jordans.
Yeah, get me into some Jordans. Yeah, which I probably will drop the money on them now. Hopefully if everything feels a lot better. So
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm wearing the Jordan 1 lows. These are the breads. Bread just means kind of the black-red combo, which is like the colorway of the Chicago Bulls. And for those of you that haven't seen the Air movie with Matt Damon, have you seen it?
oh yeah, that was a great movie, excellent movie.
I took my boys and I didn't realize. I was like, yeah, it's rated R, but it's a sneaker movie. How bad could it be? And other than a lot of foul language,
Yeah.
which they've heard all this stuff.
Yeah.
They loved it. I loved it. But the story, right, of just like the shoes and the negotiations from Mrs. Jordan on behalf of her son. But the best part that I like about that whole story is the fact that like Nike had so many balls to just say, we're just going to pay the fine. Because at the time, David Stern was the commissioner, and you had to have your shoes had to be at least 50% white.
Yes.
Right. And this one, which was a higher version though, broke that rule, and they were like, we got to go back to the drawing board. And the guys there were just like, screw it, let's just pay the fine. And I mean, they were so innovative in so many different ways. Number one, with their like literally branding a shoe after an athlete, as opposed to Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. Hey, just wear
Wear our
our
Converse.
Converse shoes, which were not designed for them. They just, maybe they had the colors of their teams a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it was a bold move.
Yeah. How much of that do you actually think was genius, or how much of that do you actually think was kind of luck? Because if you watch that movie, you're kind of like, well, these guys aren't reinventing the wheel here. They are kind of a little bit, they're trying to revolutionize the shoe business. But I mean, there had to be where the company was at that time with the basketball, it had to be such little room for error that luck had to be, such a huge part of it.
they could have fell flat on their face because they put all their eggs in one basket, right? So what if Michael Jordan was a flop, right? What if he got injured, and he did get injured in like season 2, he broke his ankle, right? But that being said, is like, what if he didn't continue to perform? And he, to this day, makes a statement. He's like, hey, listen, the shoes would never have sold themselves. And he, there was the Mars Blackman commercial. It's got to be the shoes. And Jordan was always about like, it's my game, right? My game will do the talking. And he just also had this knack for fashion. And I will say, like the Jordan 1s, which at the time, I thought they were hideous. They were ugly. And they weren't that, the shape was pretty much the same as like Converse shoes.
Yeah.
But then, boom, like Jordan 2, definitely my least favorite pair of Jordans design-wise. And then Jordan 3, it was like, holy crap, only 2 years later, they came out with a pair that looked nothing like any other basketball shoe ever.
Really innovative,
So, but I think it's a little bit of both. Luck and I think a lot of those big, home runs that people or companies hit, oftentimes it's a risk. And sometimes you go down swinging, and sometimes you hit one into the stands.
Yeah, you weren't cool unless you had the little air bubble on your shoe back in the day.
Man,
you had to have the little air bubble in there. So that was always a big deal. I could remember going shoe shopping with my parents and being like, how about this pair? Like, no, it's not.
No air bubble.
No air bubble. Can't get it.
Yeah, that was a huge thing. Tiffany Beers?
Yeah.
Another local legend. She grew up literally just maybe 4 or 5 houses down the street from me. we were talking earlier about, people working with Jordan, your Joe's college roommate. Did you know that Tiffany was at Nike
Yeah.
for a very long period of time and did a lot of design shoes? The one that off the top of my head were the self-lacing ones from like Back to the Future.
Back to the Future, yeah. See, that's the nice thing about, social media gets a bad rap for a lot of different reasons. But, one of the things is, I get to follow her career, through social media. And we knew each other. We were acquaintances, I would say probably more through you and Jared and some of the other guys from Maplewood that I'm friends with, the Barrickman family and things like that, where we'd run into each other at social functions and things. I wouldn't say anyways that we're great friends, but it was just fun to watch people's kind of life progression go through there and all the things that people accomplish and all the things that people, bring to the table, good and bad, kind of.
Yeah. I would say the one thing that I definitely pride myself on and want to pass on to my boys is just like really reveling in other people's successes.
Yeah.
Right. And, you can be jealous. It's never been a part of me. Like when someone is successful, like Tiffany or yourself with your coaching, like I get like an emotional high from that.
Yeah.
Watching somebody else do something amazing, like Sheila Bancroft, Nick Bancroft, like all those things that they've done. It'd be very easy to become a hater for whatever reason. I don't quite get that. It's not in my mentality or my genome, so to speak. But like, I just love watching people. Like Tiffany was just, small town country girl.
Yeah.
Amazing success.
Yeah. And I'm the same type of person that you are as far as that goes. I've probably done, career wise, had to make some concessions, to keep up the coaching because I do so much with it as far as JOs and all that kind of stuff where I have to have the right career to be able to do that because I'm not a teacher.
Yeah.
So, maybe that's held me back a little bit professionally, but I wouldn't change anything that I've done, for that. Could I have made more money? Probably, do more things like that.
But that's not you.
Yeah, no, that's not me. That's not me. And, I think that has a lot to do with why I don't feel that way about other people when they're successful. You're just like, this is my thing. I'm doing my thing. I know what kind of person I am. I hope they're doing great, all those kind of things.
Exactly. Well, before we kind of go to our closing session here, we're going to go do the Sawbones Challenge, which I didn't tell you anything about.
No, you did not.
We're going to have some fun with that. But, this is something I do with all my guests, and it's going to bring back some memories for you. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know Renee Snyder, my PA Jake, she kind of requested something like this. So we're going to have some fun, but we're going to go outside for this.
Oh, we're going to go outside?
Okay. So you ready to hoop it up?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So stay tuned for the Sawbones Challenge. It's coming up next.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Here we are for another edition of the Sawbones Challenge. So you looking forward to this?
I am looking forward to this.
So I kind of told you the rules, right? We're going to shoot, I'll call it the lazy man's three. It's not quite, probably a three-pointer. And maybe the basket's not quite at 10 feet, but it's close enough. First one to five, we'll alternate shots.
Okay.
I always let my guests go first. Right?
Okay,
So,
that's fine. That's fine.
Give you that honor. So cheers and good luck.
In true fashion of myself, we have to put some kind of wager on it.
Okay.
So there's no, I'm not doing some kind of athletic contest without wagering on it. That's
You place the wager.
that's
then.
that's adulthood. Tell you what, first round of drinks at the club.
Sounds like a plan. All right,
All right.
here we go. Do you need any more warm-up shots?
No,
You ready to
I'm
go?
good.
Normally I have my boys here to rebound for me.
I was gonna talk some smack and they got 5 for 5 yet.
No. It hasn't even been close. I'm undefeated, so.
Okay.
But
If I lose, you'll be very upset. But this is your home floor. Man, this is
Larry. Oh, the win! We need an edit button on that thing. I'll get you. Uh-oh. There we go. 1-1. Rick. Oh, no. Oh, no. There we go.
Oh,
A little long. That was right on target, too. Bingo. Oh! Same. Could have done a dump contest, but. Oh boy.
It's kind of like the Johnson household. Ooh,
3-3.
this is tight. It's getting tight.
This is
Tighten
the
it up.
closest we've had so far. Oh no, Ryan. Too many Miller Lights, right?
That was great.
There it is. Ah! Giving me the chances here.
I know. Oh, I'm like over
There it
here.
is. Oh,
And my performance.
me as well.
And a score.
I don't know what happened today. It was safe to say that you and I, neither one of us met a shot we didn't like.
No, that's true. I was a gunner. There it is.
4.
This is getting embarrassing.
What time is it, Allie? Gonna miss our tea time?
What's your tea time?
4:10.
3:24.
Oh, we're good.
Off the Chevy.
All right, I'm gonna end it now.
Yeah, end it.
Oh yeah, and I just airballed that. It's in their own mind. Oh, here it is. The opportunity for the game. There it is.
Drinks. Oh, drinks are on me. I get a chance to answer.
We'll let you get a chance to answer. Come on, get back there. He shot first. You shot first. Oh gosh, you had to do that, huh? How do we end this?
I don't know. You won. That's how we end it. We'll go till somebody misses. Oh, try to pull back.
We done?
Yeah.
Okay.
That wasn't a very good challenge.
Sawbones challenge. Keep checking it out. So, Justin, in closing, I always ask my guests, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years or 10 years or 15 years from now?
Jeez. I would say, down the road here, short term, I got a great group of kids coming up in the volleyball program. After 20 some years, people always ask me, are you getting to the end of your rope? And in a lot of things I kind of am probably. I'm not, I always tell people I don't know that I'm the coach that I was, 7 or 8 years ago. But I got a good group coming up. I'm going to work with them, at least in the short term, next 4 or 5 years. See myself still coaching volleyball at Sagertown. Hopefully still working at Fame RV and all that kind of stuff because I love working there. And hopefully getting back behind the bar and doing a little bartending here.
That was going to be my question because you sound very passionate about that. And quite honestly, you just let me know where you're at because I will be coming in to enjoy a pint in front of the bar that you are behind.
Yeah, well, there's a couple good places in Sagertown that they redid a couple bars there, and it's gonna be nice. So hopefully I can get on the staff there somewhere. But long term.
I mean, you're not leaving Northwest Pennsylvania anytime soon, are you?
No, I'm not leaving Northwest Pennsylvania. My parents do have a condo that they own down in Florida, so hopefully that stays in the family. And I do go down to visit them from time to time down there. And hopefully that stays in the family and I can spend some more time down there and do some golfing and do some things like that. Because right now my schedule just doesn't allow that. But hopefully down the road, a
little bit more time for you.
A little bit more time for me. Yeah. So.
But you're still young, man. You got some years left to coach. And
yeah.
I'd love to see you win a state championship. I mean,
yeah.
I know how hard that is. But man, you get there, I'm coming to cheer you on.
Yeah, well, we've been there. The boys program, we've been there twice, and it's been a great experience both times. Just couldn't get over the hump in that game. We've been, in the semifinals a few times, those kind of things. But like I tell people, it's a tough gig in Crawford County at boys volleyball. Like you gotta, it's hard just to get out of District 10. With those guys. You got Meadville and Cochrane's playing for a state championship this Saturday.
Oh my!
And they made it to states. They actually beat Mercier's Prep, another District 10 team who actually knocked off Meadville, who's been ranked second in the state all year. So
I heard about that. Yeah,
it's always a grinder, when you get through there. But that's what competition does for you. If you can get through, if you got a great team around here, you got a chance to win it all. So
one of the things I always kind of joke with people when I meet them, whether I was in Detroit or somewhere that didn't know Northwest Pennsylvania was so big for especially boys volleyball. I would say, and I think this is pretty true. Like you played baseball if you couldn't make the boys volleyball team. It was almost like a backup sport.
Yeah. Well, Sagertown wasn't always like that, but yeah, Maplewood for sure. I mean, Maplewood, your school has such a rich tradition with volleyball, either gender, girls or boys. I mean, Sheila just won her, 4th or 5th state championship this year. And of course, the boys team has won the state championship at least twice, and they've been in the game a couple other times. I mean, it's just a big tradition in Crawford County. I like what they were talking about in the paper, the Meadville Tribune here the last few days about how the Cochrane community, there's kids on that team whose parents and grandparents, grew up through the Cochrane volleyball program. And it's just neat to see that everybody's still sticking around and everybody still has everybody involved in it. It's just a really, really unique experience that I don't think you really have anywhere else.
Is Ryan Jackson the coach?
He's the assistant coach.
Okay.
Rob Trinikowski is the head coach. He's a teacher at Cochrane and a good friend of mine. Of course, Ryan Jackson played with us.
Yeah. One of my only, I think, red cards ever was directly related to Ryan. We were screaming across the net at one another. But
something that used to be a lot of fun about playing volleyball that they don't let you do anymore, which I'm really disappointed
about.
Oh
God, it was so good, wasn't it?
Across the net at each other. Oh yeah, I say that's where you learn to react quickly to what people say to you. Was playing volleyball back in the day when somebody said something about your mama across the net. You had to be on your toes or you were going to look bad.
Yeah, I mean, I specifically remember playing Meadville quite a bit in District 10. And Kalania Wong, I mean, that guy could jump out of the gym, and I'd say 90% of the time he would just hit over me when I was trying to block him. But there was a couple times where I blocked him, and it was the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
And I mean, you'd just be screaming across the net, which they just wouldn't allow these days.
Yeah, they just don't allow that these days.
So, well, Justin, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It was a blast.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to some golf this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too.
It's going to be a little frustrating on the greens. We're playing Kakwa Golf Course this afternoon. But it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. One of the benefits of having all this done is, being able to be more active. And I just want to, before we get done, I just want to thank you for everything that you've done for me. Personally, it's been a tough journey with everything that I have going on with my joint issues, over the years. And right now, how I'm feeling, and even after you even did my knee initially, it's been a life changer for me. I mean, it's really, I really appreciate everything that you've done.
Yeah, dude, it's been a privilege to gain your trust and respect to be able to do that, because I've operated on a lot of people. I mean, I've done over 10,000 joint replacements, but to be able to do something your age that you grew up with, that's like an honor and a privilege to me. So thank you for trusting me.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Spent my time before I hurt my hip and my knee. When that doctor asked me, son, how'd you get in this condition? I says, they soft bones, I'm just carrying on an old family tradition. I wanna know, doc, why do you think I got some pain in my joints? Playing hard in this Tell me all about it, Doc.